TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Stallion Lord Nelson, a record-setting multiple Grade 1 winner by Elite Sire of Sires Pulpit, new for 2017.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, welcome back to the show, man. We missed you while you were gone.
It's good to be back, man. Let's jump right in.
All right, well, we don't have a lot to recap, but we do have some TCI top fives we got to catch up on. Yeah. Today we're going to try to launch 3 of them, so we got to jump right in there. Let's talk about the TCI top 5 for the dirt mile.
Yeah, John, really have launched 4 divisions right now. In terms of the dirt races of the 13 Breeders' Cup, you have 7 dirt races. We're going to launch the other 3 today, starting with the dirt mile. Big news today with Frosted Connections choosing to go to the Classic there. Certainly, if you lose in the dirt mile, it can hurt your reputation. If you lose in the Classic, really doesn't hurt your reputation, particularly in a year like this. So I see why they made that decision, take a chance to go for the marquee race. Leaves the dirt mile sort of wide open. He was never number 1 for me, but he certainly was factored in. We had to redo our top 5. Let's start at number 5, John. I'm going to go with RUNHAPPY, and I'll be honest with you. RUNHAPPY didn't make my initial top 5 until Frosted defected. I really didn't like his performance at Churchill last time out, even though we talked about it. We felt like, it was a race that maybe going that distance at Churchill that, he would certainly be a tough task on the comeback, having not run in so long, but he worked a mile reluctantly under Gary Stevens at Keeneland, and I just think he's more of a one-turn horse. I see why they're pointing for the dirt mile. They've already conquered the sprint. They want to try to progress towards running that Pegasus World Cup at a mile and 1/8. I think that's the mindset there, to get him around 2 turns, but I just don't like him around 2 turns as much, particularly in the form he's in. So while he may be a top sprint contender in the dirt mile, he's number 5 for me. Number 4 on the list, John, I'm going to go with Tamarcuz here. For Godolphin, for Shadwell. So you don't see Frost in here, you see Tamarcuz for Shadwell, horse that's in pretty good form right now, and he's by Spitestown, has a lot of stamina on the bottom side. Most of his form is around 1 turn. It'd be interested to see around 2 turns if he can be as good, but he's in pretty good form right now, and this isn't the greatest group on earth, so his current form, I think, puts him with the top milers in this race. And number 3, I'm going to go with VYJACK, John, a horse that's really come into tremendous career form. He's a millionaire. He's had a lot of great form from his 3 to his 4-year-old year, really now in the Phil D'Amato barn. This is a home game for him. I think he's a miler. You look at his overall profile as a half-brother to Teffin by Into Mischief, which obviously had Golden Sense win this race a couple of times. So VYJACK in his home backyard, he belongs as a top 3 contender, even on going back to the dirt here. And number 2 for me, John, I'm going to go with the 3-year-old Gun Runner. And here's a horse that I just think has a good miler's profile, and is coming in. He hasn't won in a while, but is coming in with some sneaky good performances. Steve Asmussen and these connections have done well in this race at Santa Anita. I mean, I can think of Tapiture running well as a 3-year-old in this race, and they obviously won the race with the son of Tappet at Santa Anita in one of the first dirt miles that was run there with Tapazar. So I think with these connections, his numbers are trending up. I think he's a horse that could be coming the race the right way, as opposed to a lot of these horses that maybe aren't running in the Classic because they're not coming up to the fall as well as you would like. And number 1 for me, John, I think it's very obvious, especially without Frosted. You got to go with DORTMUND in the number 1 spot. Loves Santa Anita. Although he's washed out in the post-parade in his last 2 races, to me he's the class. Bob Baffert at Santa Anita, turning back to a mile. A lot of things to like there with DORTMUND.
I'll tell you one thing DORTMUND's going to like to see is not California Chrome in the race that he's going to be in.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I think he definitely has a big shot in there. Let's switch now to the sprinters, and let's start with the filly and mare sprint.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that race a little bit. This is a division, Joel, that's got some really good horses in it. Tell me, what's the top 5 look like?
I agree. I think this is going to be one of the better races of the weekend in terms of contentious, top heavy quality, and a real interesting middle distance of 7/8 with, a lot of contrasting styles in here. So the top 5 for me, I'm going to go with the hot horse in New York, Have You Gone Away. Now, obviously, the winner of the Ballerina coming into this fresh off of a lot of strong work. So, quite interesting thing for me is, 7/8 sits right between the eyes. She's in career form. But can she take her game on the road to California? I think she has a stalking style that no matter what the pace scenario is, the form that she's in, 7/8, again, a very good trip for her. The main thing for me is, can she take her game on the road? We'll go to the number 4 horse now, and I'll go with the local filly, Terrace Tango. Liked her form all year. To me, she screams 7/8 of a mile, one turn type filly. She's had success around 2 turns, but I look at her pedigree and her success there. I think she's the best locally based filly. You have Enchanting Lady, you have some others, but Terrace Tango, I like her on the turn back there, coming from off the pace. She gets the 4 spot for me. At number 3, let's go with the speed of the speed. STONETASTIC, filly that, when she's on her game, she'll run you off her feet. And really, I don't think who she runs against. It doesn't matter who she runs against. When she's able to get a lead on a track that's playing to her speed and she's on top of her game, she can put up some big buyer speed figures. She's the speed of the speed. I think having that, you know, the fact that she didn't run since this summertime, had a little layoff leading up to her race last time out at Keeneland. She probably needed that. Now she's affiliate figures to like Santa Anita, come in second off the layoff. She's a sneaky horse that'll be on the lead there in the 3 spot. Number 2 for me, let's go with a 3-year-old. CARINA Me. I thought about putting her in the 1 spot because I really like this filly at this trip, 7/8. She's been dead honest, you know, all second half of the year. Even her performances against Songbird have been very good. Even the Songbird's much better filly around 2 turns. But for me, I think the class of the race, if they decide to choose to run her here, that's CURALINA. For the Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. Again, Todd Pletcher, I think this filly, when you go back and look at her Acorn last year, she has enough tactical speed that she will be coming from off the pace, turning back to sprint fractions. However, enough tactical speed, enough quality, a multiple grade 1 winner, you know, a grade 1 winner around 1 turn. I think she has the punch, the class, and the quality that if they decide to run in this race, they can win it, John, as opposed to having to run against Beholder, Stellar Wind, Songbird, that top-heavy group in the distaff. I think Connections will strongly look at the filly mare sprint where she may be the mare to beat.
All right, we'll stay over there by your board. We got one more race to talk about, and of course, that's the sprint division.
Yeah.
You know, Joel, there's some pretty good horses out here in this division, but to me, it seems like there's one horse that's a local horse that's pretty darn good. I'll be interested to see where you have him.
Well, the sprint division is, you know, I think you mentioned the local horse, and then the East Coast Invader that everybody's going to talk about, AP&E. I think those are the top-heavy participants in this year's sprint, and really it's wide open thereafter. So number 5 for me, I kind of debated over this one, John. I'm going to go with the Smile Sprint winner, Delta BLUESMAN. I just think at 6 furlongs, he has the lick I like. To me, you got to have gate speed. You know, you're probably going to get a full field in here. You want to have gate speed. You want to have lick to put yourself in a position on the turn. I think that's so important in a race like this. He's a horse that's always been sort of a cut below his whole career, but Jorge Navarro has had a lot of good sprinters this year. This is the one that comes in the race for him, fresh, maybe rounding back into form. If he can run back to a Smile Sprint, I think he's a top 5 contender going 6 furlongs in here. Number 4 for me, let's go with a local 3-year-old, Bob Baffert's DREFONG. Again, you're getting upside with DREFONG. He liked 7 furlongs last time out. Not so sure he's tailor-made from an experience standpoint to turn back now to 6 furlongs in a full field of older horses and how he's going to handle that. But a ton of talent here. It's a home game for Bob Baffert. I'm going to put him in the 4 spot. And again, to me, this is really top-heavy division. Starting at number 3, and that's Masochistic, the local horse, John. Did not run well in last year's sprint. My concern with him is he loves Santa Anita. He's coming in the right way. But is he more of a 7-furlong front-running type? Will he like to cut back to 6 furlongs where he's going to have, you know, a lot more contentious speed going along with him in the early stages? Really concerned about that when I look at his record. The top 2 are clear-cut top 2 for me. Most likely winners of this year's sprint. And I think we're talking about AP Indian here. Might be the best sprinter, you know, in the country, but he has to go on the road now, like he did at Keeneland. Faced a very good local horse in Limousine Liberal last time out that loved Keeneland. Was able to get by him there. Tremendous form for AP Indian. Certainly like 6 to 7 furlongs. His class puts him in those top 2 spots. And then obviously Lord Nelson. The fact that it's a home game. He's a 3-time Grade 1 winner in California this year. Bob Baffert has him on top of his game. He's so tactical, and I think his style now, as he's gotten more lick later in his career, he can tailor himself to the race. He can come from out of it if they're going nutty up front, or he can put himself into a position to make a move on the turn to then get into a spot to where he can finish home and be on top. So I think Lord Nelson, John, I think you have to have him in the top spot for Bob Baffert. It's a local game for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we mentioned it last show. You know, Bob told us that the sprint is probably the biggest race where the draw is going to be such a deciding factor in there.
Absolutely.
And also, I think the sprint this year, and you tell me what you think, I think you're going to have to go 107 to win the sprint this year. You're going to have to be really fast. I think they're going to have it pretty quick out there.
Probably depends on how they tune that track up, right? And in terms of what the final time is going to be. But I agree, more than any Breeders' Cup race, when you think of the mile on the turf, but even that is a 2-turn event. You know, you have a little more time to sort of get positioned in the run to the first turn. If you have any gait problems, and I can think back to like Henny Hughes, for example, a horse that was coming into the sprint at Churchill Downs, you know, around 10 years ago, in form that I just thought that he was clearly the horse to be. I think Thor's Echo won that year. He broke a step slow and it was over. Yeah. The race was over right there in the first 100 yards for Henny Hughes. So you have to be a good gate horse. You have to have enough lick early on to put your rider, for a rider to be able to use that tactical ability, put you in position there's not many midnight lutes in the world that are going to make up the ground, be able to swing wide and overcome, you know, that type of trip. It's just not the way that this race is typically won. So when I look at my top 5, John, I definitely like experience. I like the horses that have good gate speed and have that lick for the riders to be able to put them in position at the top of the lane to finish.
All right, well, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. That's all the dirt top 5s. Make sure you come back next week. We'll give you our top 5s for some turf divisions.